Hi everyone, so this is the last underbust WKD did review that I'm doing, and I saved my favorite for last. So this is the Morticia Corset, and I'm warning you, this one is an 18-inch corset, and I am nowhere near to closing it right now, so there is quite a big gap, but here's the front, the side, the back, so starting with the length and the fit of this overall, I measured the front and it's 13 inches. So this is their longest underbust corset. So for extremely short torsoed ladies, I'm not sure if this would be the most suitable for you. However, you never know because this is their curviest corset. So it's certainly not going to squish very much on your ribs or your hips at all. And you can see how incredibly curvy this is, and this is so comfortable. You would not believe that. This fits me as if it were a custom-made corset. It feels like one of the corsets I made for myself. One thing you do have to be careful of in this corset is to make sure that you're going to be able to sit down comfortably, because with this one, you can see when I lift my leg up, this corset comes right down to where my leg meets my torso. So it is just the right length that I'm still able to sit down comfortably without it poking into my lap. But for some girls, you would have to check the length and make sure that you would be able to sit down in this corset, because if your torso is any shorter than mine, you might have a little bit of trouble. So the website says that this corset is suitable for vintage figures, which means if you're super hourglass or super pear-shaped, this will be really good for you because the hips flare out so much more than the waist. This one, it has a really nice slope from the waist to the hips, unlike the May corset, which is kind of more, it goes in and then all of a sudden it bends out. So I find that it doesn't squish my hips at all, but it still gives like a really nice, smooth, streamlined silhouette. I really love the shape that this gives me. As well, the rib cage is quite comfortable. I still have a lot of space here at the top so that I can continue to train. If you wear this corset over time and get smaller and smaller, it will train your ribs into that pretty little taper. So if you really like that effect, then go for this corset. So the material, exactly the same as all the other corsets. This tag says 100% polyester, satin, and the lining is 100% cotton, twill. This has a similar feeling to the May corset in that this corset feels as if it's possibly more than 2 layers. Even though the tag implies that it's only 2 layers, I kind of feel that it is reinforced in certain places that to make it 3 layers. This corset is also reinforced, like all the other corsets, at the busk and at the grommets at the back, so you don't have to worry about fraying or pulling away in any way. Consistent with all the other corsets, this one also has a 1-inch wide waist tape running through the entire corset, hidden on the inside so you can't see it and it doesn't cause any chafing. But it still holds the waist in very tightly, very securely, so it's not going to stretch out. The Modesty panel at the back. This is huge. This is 8 inches wide. So you can actually buy this corset a few sizes smaller than normal and train yourself down. And you still don't have to worry about having a humongous 7-inch gap at the back and showing any of your skin, because you have a Modesty panel that's wide enough to cover everything. That's really nice. Also, this has the typical front placket at the front, so you don't have to worry about your skin being pinched or any colors from your shirt or your skin poking through, so that's great too. So the construction of this corset is the same as all the other corsets. On the inside it has a floating liner, so it's very comfortable next to your skin. On the outside it has the external boning channels, so it's quite pretty. I do notice that because of the great contrast between the waist and the hips in this corset, that when I tighten this corset very tightly, it does tend to wrinkle a little bit in the boning channels and in the satin itself, just because it's so soft. But that doesn't affect the strength of it in any way. The strength of the corset depends on the lining on the inside of the twill. So if the satin ripples a little bit, it's just not as pretty, but it's still quite strong. It's not going to rip the corset or put any sort of undue stress on it. This corset has 12 bones, not including the busk. The 4 that run along each side of the corset, those are made from 1/4 inch wide spiral steel boning. Very flexible, very comfortable. They really contribute to those amazing curves you saw before. And then on either side of the grommets, you have 1/4 inch wide spring steel boning, which keeps the grommets nice and tight and secure so they're not going to pop out. It also keeps the back nice and straight when you're tightening up, so you're not going to get any uncomfortable bowing, and it's not going to put any undue stress on the corset and damage it. So that's really important as well. So the Busk is stainless steel. It is quite sturdy. It's 3/4 inches wide, like all the other Busks by WKD did. And see, because this is their longest Busk, then you can actually bend it a little bit easier than the Busks on the shorter corsets. And when you actually see the corset on me and my profile, you can see it actually does bow in a little bit at the waist. I don't have a problem with this because since this is called the Morticia Corset, I think that the bowing in at the waist in the profile looks very 1950s, and it contributes to, you know, the sort of flaring out below the waist at the hips. But if you have a lot of tummy pooch that you want to be sucked in, then you might want to choose one of the other corsets like the May corset. However, the Busk is sturdy enough for my liking, so I like it fine. The material around the Busk is very sturdy as well. It is reinforced. I feel about 4 layers in here. So there's no metal poking through, there's no stitches pulling out. I don't think this is going to pull out anytime soon. It is quite strong. Because this is a long line corset going low over your hips, and it also comes up quite high in the back, it has 22 grommets here in the back. Just like any of the other corsets, it's size 0 grommets, 2-piece, so it's not going to pull out. It's protected on both sides. It is very evenly set, about 1 inch apart. There's no split grommets, so it's not going to catch or fray on the actual corset fabric itself or on the laces either. I have no complaints about them. They've been working great for the past month. The laces that came with this corset were exactly the same that came with any of the other corsets. They were a little bit springy in the beginning, but they became more taut over time. That didn't affect the strength of it at all. It's very strong, resistant to fraying. You can grip it really well. It doesn't slide around. It's awesome. The only reason that I changed the laces on this corset is because it's my smallest corset, and you know, this is kind of a project for me to get into eventually. So when I loosened the laces all the way, it wasn't quite long enough for me to fit the corset around myself comfortably. You know, I was able to squeeze it to get the Busk closed, but I wasn't comfortable doing that because I didn't want to damage the corset. So I actually just cut out some paracord 2 meters longer than the laces that actually came with this corset. So just so it gives me more confidence that I'm not going to do any damage to the Busk, and so I can train down comfortably with this. So like I said before, the Morticia is my favorite underbust corset out of all the underbusts that WKD makes, and apparently it's a favorite for a lot of different people because it's also the most expensive one. It is 150 pounds, which in North America converts to about $235, $240. However, this fits me like a custom corset. It fits me the same way as the corsets I drafted for myself. So I don't know if I'm simply lucky that way, that I have a figure that is very well suited for this corset, or if it's simply the fact that this corset gives me the most hip room and the most rib room than any other off-the-rack corset I've ever had before. So if you're already an experienced corset wearer, if you've been waist training and you really want something a step up from the typical cheaper off-the-rack corsets out there, but you're not ready to invest in a really expensive custom fit corset, this would be a really good option for you. Also, I mean, even if you haven't waist trained before and you have the money to spend on this a really good off-the-rack corset, this would be a really good option for you as well, because if you want to do something, do it once and do it right the first time. So I love this thing. I love it. I love it. Okay, yeah, so anyway, enough being a corset geek. This is the end of my series of corset reviews for what Katie did. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just leave me a comment or a message. I'll be happy to get back to you. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.